There's a certain paradox in education, and it's one we rarely question. Most of us, when designing a course, start with what we want to teach: the grammar points, the vocabulary list, the communicative themes. We build our units around content, not necessarily competence. But what if we flip that? What if instead of starting with what we'll teach, we began with what learners should be able to do when the learning is done? That's the essence of backward design, a framework that reshapes the way we think about curriculum. And when applied to language teaching, it's a true game changing. So, sit down comfortably, grab yourself a coffee, and let's get started.
Woo! Let's go!
Backward design was popularized by Grant Wiggins and Jay McTighe in their influential book Understanding by Design in 1998. The model challenges educators to start from the end goal, the desired outcomes, and then work backwards to create the lessons, assessments, and activities that lead students there. It's the opposite of the traditional teach, test, hope approach. In language education, backward design demands a fundamental question. What communicative abilities do I want my learners to demonstrate at the end of this course? And how will I know they can do it? For example, let's imagine you're teaching an A2 level English course. Instead of saying, we'll cover the past simple tense, you might say students will be able to narrate past experiences in everyday context, vacations, childhood memories, or daily routines. The grammatical forms, past simple, regular and irregular verbs, time expressions, become means to the communicative end. When you start with outcomes, your entire teaching sequence aligns differently. Every listening exercise, every role play, every reading passage exists to build towards the performance goal. It's not about coverage, it's about coherence. Let's break this approach down into the classic 3 stages of backward design and explore how each translates into the language classroom. Stage 1. Identify desired results. Well, ask yourself, what do I want learners to know, understand, and be able to do by the end of the course? This is where learning outcomes come to life. Clear, measurable, and performance-based. In language teaching, this means thinking in terms of proficiency, not just content. So, instead of student will learn the present perfect, try student will be able to describe life experiences using appropriate verb forms and connect them to present relevance. These outcomes connect directly to communicative competence, what learners can actually do with language. They also tie to frameworks like the CEFR, ACTFL, or national standards for world languages. Now, ask yourself, can learners narrate events in sequence? Can they express opinions politely? Can they interpret gist and details in spoken interactions? Each of these is an outcome that points to real-world performance, not just linguistic accuracy. In short, stage 1 is your destination. Without it, your course is a road trip with no map. Plenty of movement, but no clear direction. Stage 2. Determine acceptable evidence. If stage 1 is about the destination, stage 2 is the checkpoint. How will you know they've arrived? This is where assessment becomes the backbone of your course. Backward design forces us to ask, What evidence will show that learners have achieved the outcomes I've defined? In language education, evidence can take many forms: oral presentations, dialogue recordings, portfolios, storytelling, story retellings, or even spontaneous interactions during classes. A grammar test alone is rarely sufficient. For example, if your outcome is students will be able to give a short, persuasive talk on an environmental issue, then the assessment shouldn't be a multiple choice quiz about modal verbs. It should be a task that requires learners to use modal verbs, to persuade, to reason, to communicate with purpose. Wiggins and McTighe call these authentic assessments, performances that mirror the kind of task people face in the real world. And that's specifically relevant in language learning, because our ultimate goal isn't to produce students who can fill in blanks, but who can speak, listen, read, and write to connect meaningfully with others. So, when designing an assessment, think performance first. You can use tools like rubrics tied to the CEFRs, can-do, descriptors of ACTFLs, proficiency guidelines. They help ensure your talks actually measure communicative competence. And here's a small but powerful mindset shift. Instead of asking, did they understand the unit on travel vocabulary? Ask, can they successfully check into a hotel, ask for directions, and describe their travel experiences using target language appropriately? The first question checks knowledge. The second checks ability. And backward design always prioritizes the second. Stage 3. Plan learning experiences and instruction. Only after identifying goals and evidence do we plan the learning journey. This is the moment when the magic of pedagogy truly unfolds. The lessons, activities, and materials that lead students toward mastery. Here's where teachers often experience a reversal shock, because backward design means your activities aren't chosen for their fun factor alone or because they fill time. They're chosen strategically to develop specific outcomes. Let's revisit our A2 storytelling example. If your end goal is students can narrate past experiences, your learning experiences might include listening to real-life anecdotes, input and modeling, using picture sequences to restructure short stories, which is comprehension and noticing. Pair storytelling. Tell your partner about your favorite childhood toy. Writing reflective paragraphs. A day I'll never forget. Each task isn't random. It's a part of scaffolded progression that moves from input to interaction to independent production, aligned with the outcome and assessment. Backward design doesn't kill creativity, it channels it. It gives structure to innovation, ensuring every playful, immersive, or artistic activity still serves as like a pedagogical purpose. Why backward design matters in language education? Language learning isn't linear. We don't complete grammar points and move on forever. We spiral, revisit, and recontextualize. Backward design provides coherence in that complexity. It ensures that what learners practice and what we assess are connected. It helps avoid the trap of disjointed lessons or the grammar supermarket approach, where every week has a new topic but no lasting communicative progression. It also empowers teachers to communicate learning goals clearly. Students know why they're learning something, not just what. That transparency boosts motivation, ownership, and metacognitive awareness. And for teachers, backward design becomes a kind of professional compass. It helps you justify your choices to administrators, parents, or even yourself, because you can trace every lesson back to an articulated purpose. Now let's move on with the practical tips to apply backward design in your classroom. First, start small. You don't have to redesign an entire course overnight. Try applying backward design to a simple unit first. 2. Use the can-do framework. Phrase all outcomes in terms of what learners can do. For example, I can describe my future goals, I can give directions to a tourist, I can agree and disagree politely. 3. Design performance tasks early. Decide on your end of unit task before writing any lessons. Then plan activities that build towards those tasks step by step. 4. Integrate form and meaning. When teaching grammar or vocabulary, tie them directly to the communicative outcome. Don't isolate them. 5. Reflect and revise. Backward design is cyclical. After teaching a unit, reflect. Did the activities lead to the intended outcome? Were assessments aligned? What can be refined? A real classroom example. Let's imagine a B1 Spanish course for university students. Traditional design might look like this. Week 1, the preterite versus imperfect. Week 2, vocabulary, holidays and travel. Week 3, writing a travel blog post. Now, let's backward design it. Stage 1, desired outcome. Students will be able to narrate and reflect on a travel experience using appropriate past tenses and rich vocabulary. Stage 2, evidence. A written travel blog post describing a personal or imaginary trip, plus an oral presentation to peers. Stage 3, learning plan. Analyze authentic Spanish travel blogs, which is the input. Highlight how writers use preterite and imperfect to create narrative flow. Compare two versions of the same story to notice mood and aspect differences. Write short paragraphs focusing on setting, action, and reflection. Draft, peer review, and publish their final travel stories. Here, the grammar is still taught, but always within the communicative context. The students don't just learn the preterite, they use it to tell stories that matter to them. That's the power of backward design. Backward design and curriculum coherence. When applied systematically, backward design creates what we call vertical alignment, where each course level fits naturally into the next. A1 outcomes build towards A2, which build towards B1, and so on. Instead of isolated courses, you have a continuum of language development, a living curriculum that mirrors how people actually acquire language. For example, A1 goal can introduce oneself and exchange personal information. A2 goal can describe daily routines and past events. B1 goal can narrate experiences and express personal opinions. B2 goal can debate familiar topics and express agreement or disagreement with nuance. Backward design makes sure each stage prepares learners for the communicative challenges ahead, and that assessments evolve accordingly. But of course, we also have to face challenges and misconceptions. Many teachers resist backward design because they feel it's too rigid, too administrative. But in reality, it's a framework for freedom. It frees you from the tyranny of textbooks, allowing you to prioritize learning over coverage. Others say, but I have to follow the school syllabus. That's okay. You can still apply backward thinking within those boundaries. You can still ask yourself, how do these units contribute to my learners' long-term communicative growth? How can I adapt the given content to meet authentic performance goals? Backward design doesn't require a revolution, just a shift in sequence and intention. But of course, in a perspective, at its heart, backward design isn't about curriculum theory. It's about empathy, seeing the learning experience through the student's eye. When we plan backward, we begin by imagining their success, their ability to order coffee in Paris, defend their thesis in English, or write an email to an international colleague with confidence. We start from their future self and build the bridge backward. And isn't that what language teaching really is? Helping others cross from one identity to another, from silence to expression, from insecurity to fluency. So backward design isn't just a method, it's a mindset, a belief that our teaching should begin not with content, but with capability. So the next time you open your lesson plan template, try this. Before writing objectives, before listing materials, before even thinking of grammar, close your eyes for a moment and picture your learners at the end of the journey. What do you want them to be able to do? Say or understand that they couldn't before. That vision is your true curriculum. Everything else flows backward from it. Because teaching, in its most intentional form, is reverse engineering transformation. Until next time, keep designing with purpose and teaching with the end in mind.